Today we have special guest, Mr. Marcus Maloney. He's a longtime real estate investor. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of this story. I hope you tune in and we'll have a good time. Mr. Marcus, how are you doing today? And where are you calling from today?
Man, I'm doing great, Daniel. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, with your podcast and with the Hive Mind Group. And I hail from Chicago, Illinois, but I am in the Phoenix, Arizona market, and I've been out here for about 10 years now.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, sir.
I actually wanted to jump into Chicago because I'm originally from Chicago too. I grew up in Hammond.
Oh, I know Hammond, Indiana, right across the border. Yep.
Right across the border. I lived there for 21 years.
Great. Okay. You know what? You doing any deals or anything over there in Hammond?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I live in Cali now, and I do a lot of stuff in Texas.
Okay. Gotcha.
It works where I'm at, but I always like talking. I always like asking where people are from because people come from like humble beginnings, and I think for you, I read your bio. You grew up on a farm in Illinois.
Yeah. Yep. So just south of Chicago, we're from Hammond, about 35 minutes from Hammond in Kankakee, Illinois. And we were in a small town right next to Kankakee called Moments. It's about 3,300 people, man. Yeah. And one cool story before we get started is, what taught me how to invest in real estate or how to invest, period, was, a lot of my school contemporaries, they all went to school shopping before you went back to school. Well, for us, in the spring we had to buy piglets at the auction. You can pick those piglets up for $10-15, and you bought them by the pound, right? So we would purchase these piglets in the spring. All summer we would feed them, stuff them, everything like that, and then we'll take them back to the auction and resell them. So pigs, they can eat as much as you can put in front of them. So we would feed them, and we bought them when they were like 10-15 pounds. And then we would take them back right before school, and they would be about 200 pounds, and they sold by the pound. So we learned how to, invest early, how to, buy low and sell high. So that was one of my strategies and one of my forays into understanding real estate and understanding investing. So it all started, from one school clothes and pigs. Can you believe that?
I love stories like that because I think everybody you need to enable that into your children early. At least they understand how the world works, even at a simplest basic level. And I think a lot of parents don't prepare their adult children for that, and they're kind of walking in blindly. But that's a simple strategy. I mean, you buy them pigs. I never heard of that.
Yeah, flipping pigs, man. So buy low, sell high, right? You could do that with anything: cars, houses, clothes, anything, bicycles. We just happened to live on a farm, so it was farm animals, livestock.
It's amazing. That's a good story. I think your experiences in life definitely help you either harness or you're missing something.
Absolutely, man. You're right, spot on with that, Daniel.
It's good. So let's jump a little bit into the real estate stuff. I always like jumping into that stuff because like every podcast is like, oh, real estate. But like you're a person too, and you always have humble beginnings, and you always have cool, interesting stories. So it's always I like switching it up a little bit and bringing it down to a human level versus up in the clouds, because people sometimes hear us and they think, man, these guys are crazy. What are these guys doing?
Yeah, everybody got an origin story, right? We didn't all start out with, 100 doors, 500 doors, or flipping 100 properties a year. We all started out somewhere. And the main thing is when you're starting, you have to not despise the days of small beginnings. So you got to understand when you're in that infancy stage, what do I need to learn? What do I need to grasp while I'm in this stage, and be appreciative while you're in this stage, because that's going to help you push, to the latter stages in life and in your investment career.
And one thing I'll make on this too, and you probably agree with me on this, I think your growing stages are the most fun, because I feel like once you make it to a certain level, it's like you like lose that like urgency, like to you lose that a little bit of your hunger to survive.
And that excitement, right? It's that
Yeah,
excitement of the deal, the next deal, like you said, that hunger. Hey, if I don't close a deal, I don't eat, and if you lose that, and that's what happens to a lot of investors, along their journey.
This show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Everything becomes so systemized to where, it's just another wheel or peg in a cog or whatever cog in the system. And you lose that excitement about, meeting with sellers, talking with sellers, walking properties, things like that. Naturally, when you start to scale, you can't do that, as much. But those are the times where you start to cut your teeth on understanding how deals actually come to fruition.
yeah, 100%. And I think you learn a lot more about business too, because when you're first starting out, you're doing everything, and as your business grows, you're like, I can't do everything. I need to hire experts, and I need a partner, and I need to do all these other things to make business work and operate more effectively.
Yeah, and you know what, Daniel? One of the challenges is knowing when you're at that point to where you say, you know what, in order for me to go to the next level, I have to bring somebody on to help me. And a lot of people get lost in that. And I'm guilty of that myself. I was a solopreneur for a little bit too long before I started expanding out and started creating a team. And I think I would have been a lot further than I am right now if I would have started with that team earlier. But what do we always say, or think, hey, you know what? I need all of the money because it's just me. And, I don't have enough money to go out and hire somebody. So you try and do it all by yourself and try and figure it out by yourself. But take some time, your listeners, take some time, try and strategize, how can you create a team atmosphere? How can you get somebody on your team? If it's, hey, you know what? Let's split the deals 50-50 and have a partnership, or I pay for all of the marketing and all of the acquisition costs, and you do all of the dispo side of everything. You have to start building that stuff while you're in the trenches, because you don't want to get too big and now you're spending most of your time trying to train people to do what you need them to do while everything on the back end is falling apart.
The one thing you missed was no one could do it better than me.
Yeah, right. You know what? And yeah, a lot of people have that false belief, but there's tons of people out there that can do it better than you. You just got to find them.
100%. So let's talk about your real estate career. How long you been in real estate, and were you in the real estate in Chicago or just in Phoenix? 100%.
You know what? Started in Chicago market. Actually, my mom, kind of going to my real estate origin story. My mom, she back in the late 80s, she worked for the state of Illinois, and she bought, 2 raggedy houses. And me and my brother, we didn't know why she was buying them. The only thing we saw was work. Hey, you know what? She got these raggedy houses. This is more work for us. We got to go over there, cut the grass, clean it out, work with contractors, and lo and behold, she flipped one, went in there, did the rehab, flipped and sold that one. And then the other one, we actually have in our rental portfolio to this day. So yeah, that's how I cut my teeth and started understanding real estate, because she sold us that check from that one she flipped. And it was like, oh, wow, you made more money on this one property than you did for the whole year working for the state. So yeah, so that kind of got me started kind of gave me that introduction to real estate. Naturally, I was young. I was a teenager. That was the furthest thing from my mind, was working on properties. It was all about girls, football, and having fun. But then when I came to my senses, right, because I dropped out of high school right before graduation, like 2 months before graduation, because I didn't think I was gonna graduate. I was one of those kids that just kind of bucked the system. I always challenged people and challenged their philosophies, and that always got me in trouble because, when the school system, it's, listen and do, not challenge authority. So I went from really dropping out of high school, went and took my GED just to try it and see where I would land, and I passed the GED. So I went from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, and literally in 2 months. And while all of my contemporaries were going to graduation, I was already done, and I was moving on to the next stage of my life. So it taught me, that not every trail has to be blazed the same way. And from that's kind of where I started really looking into the real estate. I went to college. So I went from a GED to an MBA, right? And yes, that college education did award me some opportunities, but it wasn't in the field and in the career of the endeavor that I wanted to be in, which was real estate. So lo and behold, I just started doing research and started looking into real estate. And I bought my primary residence in Illinois, and I had one rental, moved from Illinois to Arizona because I was promised a job opportunity, and that job opportunity was rescinded. So the only income that I had coming in was the 2 rentals. I turned my primary residence into a rental because I moved out, and my rental. So I was in Arizona with my wife, 3 kids who were, 3, 4, and 12 at the time. And I had to make it work. I had to find opportunities. So I didn't know that. And here in Phoenix, I didn't know the East Valley from the West Valley, from the North, from Central, or whatever. But only thing I knew is that during that time, everybody said that real estate was happening at the courthouse steps, at Maricopa County courthouse steps. So I just went down there on a whim, didn't know anybody. And I just started networking with the people that were down there because they said, in order for you to buy these properties, you got to have cash. And so I knew that the real estate investors were there. So in order for me to get into real estate, I knew I had to be where those individuals were. And that's what I did. I went down there and started networking and really built my team from those opportunities right there. So that was kind of how I got started in real estate here in Phoenix.
I was going to ask you that question, and you answered it in that thing, because I know times have changed a lot recently.
Yep.
And I was wondering, like, I always ask a lot of older investors, like, where they learned, and a lot of people, like, I used to listen to audio tapes. I used to hop in on conference calls. And all that.
Yep. That's true. And yeah, so I went to the courthouse steps. The only thing that I knew was, everybody said that houses were selling down there, and those were the people that were buying them. So transactions were happening, and that's where the money was. So that's where I needed to be. And that's where I went.
That's amazing. And how long ago was that?
Man, this was in 2010. So 13 years ago. It was either 2010 or 2011. So somewhere in there.
Oh man, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, right.
I graduated high school in 2010.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's crazy. It's weird the paths that like appear in front of us because we're in the right position, and you got to go to the right place to find the right path.
Yeah, and you know what I always tell people, Brian, is you got to open your eyes and you got to see the opportunities because they're all around you. Are you going to do what's necessary? Are you going to take the steps that's necessary in order to walk into those opportunities? Was it easy for me being out here, with no income? I always tell people I had no bed, no car. My wife had the car, so I had no bed, no car. But the only thing I had was massive opportunity around me. And I just started walking into those opportunities. I failed, I tripped, I stumbled, I made tons of mistakes. But through those mistakes, I started finding valuable partnerships, to help me along my journey. And that's how I found, my main mentor, was because I was making tons of mistakes. And he was like, you know what, you got the grit, you got the grind and the hustle. Let me show you the right way to do it. And he took me up under his wings. And from there, we were closing like 20 deals. We got closed 20 deals in like that first year, doing, real estate wholesaling and doing some flips with them. So I had to partner because I didn't have the money and I really didn't have the resources. So I had to find people that had those resources, and I had to lend my level of expertise to them. I'm good on the phone. I like to talk. And because of that, I would get on the phones and I would talk to people, and I would, find deals. The first thing he told me to do was, hey, here's all of our old dead leads that we're no longer following up on. See if you can revive something out of this. And that's what I did. I took that list, and I was just cold calling those people, following up with them, and I was pulling deals out of it. And he was like, man, how did you do that? And I was like, man, it's just listening to the needs of the sellers and seeing if you can figure out what they need and can you match it, and where it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, that's all it is, man. That's all it is. It sounds so simple, but it's definitely it's definitely has.
Oh yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. It is.
So let's talk a little about what do you do now more, and what type of assets are you more into at the moment? Is it still single family, still rentals, still all the?
Yeah, so we're still flipping. We flip actually virtually and close to home here in Phoenix. So we do things in the Chicago market also, because that's where I know and I have a team there. So like we just picked up a duplex last month, me and my wife. I haven't even been in the property yet, but we already have it renovated, have one tenant in place, and then we have another tenant that should be in place later next week. So what I tell people is, you could do it. You just have to think and you have to strategize and learn how to overcome those obstacles in order to do it. So rentals, our main thing is taking active income. So the active income, flip money, wholesale money, and then deploy that into passive income. So buying rental properties. That way, hey, if we don't close deals this month, the next couple of months, we know we still have rental income coming in.
Yep, it's amazing. So how do you manage your team virtually? Because I think a lot of people struggle with this too. Because they struggle with, I think a lot of people struggle with contractors as a whole, but there's a lot of things there's a lot of caveats to that. But what's your like one takeaway? Because are you buying wholesale, remodeling, and then renting?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're doing all the process. So
yes,
you gotta have a remodel team, you gotta have a rental team, and then a make ready and turnovers and all that stuff in the interim and all that. So you got to have multiple different teams at that point.
Yep. You do. And the main thing, Daniel, is accountability. You sometimes you have to have those tough conversations with your property manager, with your contractor. They know because we've been working for so long, they know the standard and the level of the property and the asset that we like to bring to the marketplace. So it's daily. They send me a video update of the progress that was done on each property. So now I can go back and I can review. So I have my contractor to do that. And then we have our PM, our property manager, to do that as well. So we have multiple sets of eyes. Our contractor go and do the work. Our property manager comes behind, and they know that, hey, they know what kind of quality needs to be in this property to either one, flip it, or two, to have it as a long-term tenant, long-term rental, because that's how they're going to make their money. They're going to make that money off of, hey, the flip sale commission as a realtor, or the long-term property management income that they make off of it. So they're vested into the deal also, because they know that the product have to be pristine in order for me to get maximum dollar, to put it on the market at maximum dollar, or to get maximum rent. So the contractors go in and we pay our contractors top dollar. We don't like to negotiate and haggle with our contractors. What we say is, go on a property, tell me how much it needs, and we'll tell you what needs to be done, and you give us a number. If that number is realistic compared to the hundreds of other jobs that you've done, then we'll give you that number. But you have to meet our timeline and our deadline in order to get it done. right? So they already know coming in the door, hey, as long as I meet these deadlines and my quality is good, I'm going to get paid top dollar with no questions asked. And that's one of the things that we do. And because of that, they have a keen eye on their trades, the GC, and then our property manager has a keen eye on the GC. So we have three sets of eyes, and then finally they send me the information every evening so I can look at the pictures, look at the updates, and go over everything and process where the property is in the stage of renovation. So it's again, Daniel, it's a lot of accountability. It's a lot of, we use Podio for communicating and making sure, pictures are being sent, videos are being sent back and forth. And we just have certain timelines each time we go into a new deal. So before we even acquire that property, we do, an Excel spreadsheet, the breakdown of everything that needs to be done.
Yep.
Everybody's on the same page. We have a line item of the rehab that needs to be done, how much it's going to cost. And now that contractor can go and run and start doing what they need to do. That way we can get these assets from acquisition to profitability, in no time.
So one thing I want to ask, I don't know, I know a lot about Indiana because I grew up on the Indiana side, but I never messed with like Illinois real estate, especially because I wasn't even in real estate when I lived over there. So it was like one of those after it. There's like hindsight into it now. But is Illinois cash flow?
It's a tenant friendly state. So that's first and foremost. You, as a landlord, you have to know the laws to the T, because a lot of times if you get the wrong tenant in place, it can take you 8-9 months to a year in order to evict that tenant. If they play the game like some people play. So you have
professionals.
Yeah, they're professionals, right? So I'll give you an example. We had this property that we just purchased. There was a squatter in it. And before we acquired the property, it was sitting this one was sitting on the market, wouldn't nobody touch it, and it was sitting there because there was a squatter in it. We couldn't get in to see the condition of the property or anything like that. But I knew the area. I didn't know the interior. I knew the area though. And I knew, okay, one, it's going to need a roof, but the exterior looked clean. And what we did was we contacted the city, and we found out when was the last time that a rental license was valid on this property. Once we found that out, now we knew, okay, this property has to be in somewhat decent condition because they just had a rental license on this property not too long ago. And the city comes out every year, every 2 years to inspect the property. So I took a shot. I took a gamble. I didn't know, one, how we were going to get the squatter out, and two, what the condition of the property was. But again, it goes back to having your team in place. I contacted my attorney there and I said, hey, this is the situation. We want to acquire this property, but before we do that, I need to get some assurances from you as the attorney. How fast will we be able to evict this tenant, and what's the process that we will be able to go in order to get it done? And he gave me the assurances that we will be able to do it, really, really quick. Come to find out, Daniel, this is why sometimes you have to take these calculated risks. Come to find out, we closed on the property. No one had been in the property. We went there. Property manager put a note on the door of the first unit. That's the unit that the squatter was in. Let them know, hey, contact us. Let's try and work something out, before we get sheriffs involved and everything like that. No response from the squatter. Well, as we were entering the second unit, naturally we had to, break into it, change the locks and everything like that. Well, one of the neighbors happened to call the squatter and was like, hey, somebody's breaking in, your house, right? So immediately that got his attention, and he called the property manager and was like, hey, what's going on? She was like, we bought the property. We know that you're in the property. We want to work out something with you in order to help you transition on. Come to find out, when my property manager went and walked the property, he had just did a lot of renovations on that unit because he was thinking that he was going to buy that property. So it had new flooring throughout. recently painted, new counters, new kitchen cabinets, everything like that. So we told him, we said, hey, we're going to put new tenants in here. And he was like, hey, you know what? That's fine. I already closed on the property, my new property. I just need, 30 days in order to move out. Our attorney drew up everything, and that's exactly what happened. He moved out 30 days. We had a pristine property, and my contractor even tried to buy the property from me double what I paid for the property.
Wow.
So it's taking those risks, those calculated risks that sometimes can pay off. Now, it could have easily went south, but then I would have leaned again on the expertise of our attorney and the assurances that he gave us that he would have been able to file the proper paperwork in order to get that squatter out. But we didn't have to go that route.
No, that's a good story. I really want to dig into the attorney part too, because I think a lot of people underestimate the power of having a attorney on your team, because they save you from a lot of legal paperwork, especially if you're doing stuff with tenants, if you're doing a lot of contract paperwork. They're going to save you from a lot of heartache.
Absolutely.
Heartache is the word. And you can do stuff more efficiently too, because like you said, you want your attorney like, hey, how fast can we get them out?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know what? And those attorneys, they have relationships that we just don't have. They have relationships with judges, with sheriffs, with things, with other officials, to where they can say, all right, in this area, I know exactly who to call in order to get this person out. This is what we can do. We'll file this paperwork. I used to try and do that stuff myself, Daniel, and it used to drive me nuts. And I was like, that goes back to knowing when to bring a team member on, right? So then I was like, you know what? This is too much for me to try and do this from 2,000 miles away. Let me try and find an attorney. I reached out to a title company that I work here in Arizona, and they said, hey, you know what? Use this title company over here. And then that title company referred me to this attorney, and I've been working with this attorney. Shout out to Peter Hallam. Been working with him for about 6 years now on every deal, every transaction that we do in Illinois. And he knows, once again, there were times where we had contracts where he wouldn't get paid on them. And I said, whatever your fee is, Peter, just add it and we will pay it on the buyer side. That way you can get paid for your services. Because some contracts they write up, they won't pay the attorney fee, yada, yada, yada. And, but I always told him, whatever your fee is, I'll make sure I pay it. Even if, sometimes we even pay a little bit more, because as long as you keep your team members happy, you have a symbiotic relationship. Everybody's going to work for the greater good in order for our business to be successful.
100%. 100%. I think we like that model too, is overpaying your team because they'll work even harder for you.
Yep.
Once you already have good team members, it's golden from there, because the battle becomes easier.
Yeah, and you know what else it does, Daniel, is now instead of you needing to hold everybody accountable, those individuals that's on your team will hold those other team members accountable. So just like I was saying with the contractor and the property manager, now the property manager holds that contractor accountable, not the property manager calling me saying, hey, the contractor didn't do this, they didn't do that. No, they go in and they make sure that it's done, and they send me pictures and say, hey, this is how I'm going to address this. Do you think I need to address it this way, or should we go in a different direction? And I normally say, hey, you know what? I think what you're doing is the right way. Let's go ahead and get it done.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. Are you like pretty much, you live in Arizona and do everything in Illinois, it sounds like, or are you still doing stuff in Phoenix too?
No, we still do things here in Phoenix as well.
Okay. That's it's a big operation.
Yeah. It's a lot of moving parts, but it's, again, you have to lean on your team members in order to make everything work the right way. And you have to have the right systems in place, in order for communication to be seamless and everybody to be on the same page.
100%. That's definitely a given. So just building out the rental portfolio, what does the next 5 years look like for you?
Man, you know what? I'm actually building a team right now for us to go into larger commercial units.
Nice.
So just brought on a new attorney to start drawing up some paperwork for us, and just built some relationships with some other individuals that's looking to go into commercial. So that's where we're moving here in the next 5 years.
What asset class in commercial?
Just larger commercial, apartments.
Okay, I gotcha. We do a lot of land, so we're doing commercial land, getting into commercial land and subdivides.
That's big there. I was kind of looking at it, but just don't want to do any kind of ground up development right now. But yeah, that subdividing, I hear is very lucrative.
Yeah, a lot of what we do is, I mean, you don't even have to do ground up development. You just kind of set it up, and somebody might take it over for
somebody come in and buy it. You have everything subdivided, and then you just sell it off to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Where are you doing that? Where are you doing that at?
Mostly Texas.
Okay.
Texas. We have a lot of subdivides going on over there.
Well, it's a lot of dirt in Texas, right?
And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of dirt where people want to be too. That's the other
yeah.
There's a lot of dirt where people want to be. What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Let's see. A good quote. Man, you're only as strong as your team. You know, that's what I kind of lean on. You know, you're only as strong as your team, because if you have one weak link in your team, then that link is really it compromises the strength of the team, right? So you have to go in, evaluate where that weakness is, eradicate that weakness, and bring that team back together. So as you can see, I'm big on team and systems.
Yeah, team and systems, I think, it's the only way to grow effectively and efficiently. I mean, there is no other way. It's always people and systems. I mean, if there was no people involved, it'd be amazing, but there's always got to be people involved in some way.
Yeah. One thing I learned is that when it comes to a problem, the problem can only be classified in two areas. It's either a people problem or a process problem, right? So if it's a process problem, then you can look at that process, evaluate it, get with the people and say, how can we make this process better? And then if it's a people problem and you know that your process is consistent, then again, you just either have to have that strong conversation with that person or those people and then fix the system, or you move those people on. So there's only two types of problems: people problems or process problems.
Yeah, one of the things I love about having like a team in general is that you can, knowing that your business is profitable enough and effective enough to bring like commerce to big general populations directly and indirectly. So it's a really cool. I think real estate's it's a really cool business and asset.
Yeah, and you can move. It's so many different niches in real estate. You know, that's what I tell a lot of people. You can't just say, "Hey, I want to be a real estate investor." Okay, what niche are you really trying to dig into? Own that niche, learn that niche, and then before you try and pivot and go into something else, master that one niche. So if it's fixing and flipping, master fixing and flipping, you know, before you start going into large commercial or something like that. Unless you're a member of a team that has the experience already in that asset class.
Yeah, that's another. Did you ever do any mentorship at all? Oh
yeah,
earlier. What has your been like? What's been like your number one thing you got from mentorship as a whole?
Systems. Really, that's the truth. You know, it's making sure, because remember, I was a solopreneur for so long, so I was doing everything that I knew. You know, but then when I brought people on, it was like, okay, we have to have the standard operating procedures. How do we do this? You know, how do we, acquire our next deal? What are the processes in order to acquire that next deal? So mentorship, really, I mean, big shouts out to Bill Allen and 7FF. I really learned a lot of that by being in there in that 7FF family.
Awesome. Do you offer any education at all?
I do. Me and my partner, Mike Del Preet, who is the executive director of the AZ RIA, which is the largest RIA in the country. We have a mentorship program that's called the Deal Finders Club. So we help aspiring real estate investors and fix and flippers learn how to go out and find direct to seller deals. That way we can eliminate the realtors and get a better deal. So that's at azdfc.com.
AZDFC.com. No,
Mhm.
that's cool. How long have you been doing the education side?
Man, not long, only for about 2 years. Because what we did was once he acquired the RIA, we found that there were a lot of people that was just misinformed in regards to real estate. So we would do a lot of workshops, we would do a lot of seminars, and yes, you can get a lot in a 2-day seminar, but the takeaways once they leave, it's like, okay, I've learned so much. Where do I actually start? So that's the reason why we created the Deal Finders Club, to show people this is how you start finding off-market deals, especially for those fix and flippers that were buying so many deals from wholesalers, right? The margins are really thin now, right? So you got to be able to go direct to seller. So we show people how to go direct to seller and acquire those deals.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle that early on is they consumed every podcast and every YouTube video, and they know everything, but they don't know. They might not have the actual steps to actually go out and produce. I think that's the biggest problem. I always tell people this too, is that you don't know how much effort it takes to produce results. So you think you're doing enough, but it's not usually.
True. Got one of my favorite quotes, and this is my quote, is education without application is just information. So a lot of people, they go and they get the education, and they can talk real estate shop all day, but they don't apply it. There's no application to it. So now only thing you have is information, and there's tons of information out here, but the people that succeed are the people that apply that education that they learned.
That's 100% correct. You definitely gotta apply it, because if you don't, you're just gonna be just like everybody else.
Yep. So guys, remember that information without application is education without application is just information.
So where can people find you online? You're on YouTube, you have Facebook.
Yeah, YouTube. First off, they can go to MarcusEMaloney.com. That's Marcus, Marcus, E as in equity, Maloney, Maloney.com. I got tons of free resources there. We have our podcast, We Love Equity Real Estate Show. And then YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. That's MRCS Maloney. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
There you go. I have to get you on Twitter. I post a lot of stuff on Twitter. I'm a very avid Twitter user right now.
All right, sweet. I'm still using Twitter, but not as much as I was. I'm doing more stuff on Instagram now.
I backed away from Instagram.
Did you?
It got kind of boring for me. I still post there, but it's not my go-to at the moment.
And you know what? You gotta limit yourself. With all social media platforms, you just really have to limit yourself, because, like you said, it can consume so much of your day. And you look up and you're like, man, what did I get done today? Yeah, I did a couple of videos, made a few posts, but besides that, what else did I do? So yeah, everybody out there listening, just be careful what you consume, and only consume so much.
Yeah. Everybody always laughs at me because people consume a lot of sports, and I watch zero sports. I don't know nothing about sports. It doesn't even bother me either too, because I'm I know a lot about the stuff that's really important, and sports isn't important to me.
Okay. So what's your go-to? What do you like to dig into, Brian?
Me, it's Daniel, but
I mean Daniel. Why did I call you Brian? Sorry.
It's twice now, man. For me, it's a business and real estate. I mean, I'm really active in what I do. I teach, educate, and then it's just a lot of family after that. So most of my time is consumed with family and work, and that's it.
Okay.
But I enjoy. I think educating, it makes me sharper.
Mm-hmm.
You become more effective at teaching the more you do it.
And that's your passion, man. You just continue to lean into it. One thing that I like is the students will challenge you, indirectly. They will ask you questions to where, if you're not actually in the industry doing the deals and working on projects, they'll ask you some questions to where you'd be like, I don't know. But you could tell the authenticity from someone, like you said, like yourself, Daniel, that's actually out in the field. So when those questions come up, you already have answers to them, because one, you lived it. If you haven't lived it, one of your teammates lived it, or you will live it, pretty soon.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yep.
No, this has been a great episode. I appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on. And I hope people took some notes on the end of this episode, man. I really do appreciate your time, Marcus. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
For everybody here, you know what to do. Go like, subscribe, share with a friend. You know what to do. I ain't got to explain it. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Hiveless Podcast. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Hey guys, so the Hive Mind is launching a new program where we're helping you work deals that are valued at $1 million and up. If your deal is worth $980,000, we don't want to take a look at it. You can submit those deals to us at submitbigland.com, and we'll help you comp the deals. If it's good, we'll help you close it, and we'll also help you fund it and sell it. Check us out, submitbigland.com, milliondollarmastermind.com, and wholesaling $1 million land deals on Facebook. Thanks, guys.